says excellent connection. There we go. Well, hello, boys and girls. It's when we feel like 8 o'clock, and you're watching the Pearlo Wisdom Show. As you can see in the new little fancy banner that NHNR came up with for us. Everybody, big round of applause. Thank you very much for that. Looks lovely. Absolutely lovely. Thank you very much. We are three today. We have Steel from the great, amazing SteelFlyers.com All Sports Network here today. And of course, you know, the guy who's always coming around, Pro Joe, Professor Joe from All Sports, Sports Fanatic News and Steel Flyers All Sports Radio. Coming to you here, and we are going to talk about last night's games. Only 2 games, but very interesting games indeed. The logo is working fantastic. Yes, it is NHNR. Thank you very much again for for that.
Wait. Okay. This is the first time I'm seeing this.
Okay.
Okay. And wow.
You like that, yeah?
That is
what happened.
She likes the banner. He likes the banner.
I haven't seen it yet. You know what I mean? I've been a little bit out of touch lately, so
yeah, I know. It's a little. We had to fit Joe in there, so I made it a little smaller. But when we get it all, well, it's cool. I like it. NH, you did a fantastic job. I'll have a little gift for you for that. Thank you very much. Anyways, guys, Steel, you are.
He asked me on my comment on my one video if I know why the little rocket on plane. I believe it involves COVID in the AHL, but I think the first game was supposed to be tomorrow. To answer a secondary question, when they're supposed to play against Belleville, which would be in Belleville, obviously against Senators. I believe that's what it was supposed to be for the ball. To answer the second part of your question, I am not sure if they're still slated to start back up tomorrow, but I think they are. So that would be, I'm not entirely sure. I pay attention to teams I'm more direct fans in the AHL, which the AHL really does not. But I'm pretty sure hearing it just like the grapevine old saying from Morgan Gason. Yeah, I think it's tomorrow they're supposed to start back up.
Good deal, man. Awful musical today, aren't we? Getting all the songs and everything, man. I like it. I'm gonna say this, man. I was blown away by the two games that were on last night. I don't know about you guys, but in the last couple of days, I've been able to find myself quite dedicated to watching a lot of hockey. You could say that I'm almost at the divorce level of hockey.
Oh, you're there, are you?
Oh yeah. Yes. I haven't missed many games.
Yeah, the audio here.
We're echoing all the crap.
News report said, yeah.
Okay.
Echoing.
That means something not turned up is turned up.
Turn down your YouTube sound. If you go onto YouTube, in the YouTube window,
that's
and turn down sound down.
That's always off.
Okay. It's one thing I know
of. NDI source 1, 2. Maybe I only need one NDI source with you guys.
Two, one for you, one for us.
Yeah, that might be it.
Yeah.
Well, no, you meant one for us guys. So that's why I said yeah.
Okay. Now you talk.
We talk.
Okay, we should be.
We're
probably going to be good now.
Games that I had a chance to watch in quite a while, especially with the teams involved and what was at stake. So.
Yeah, I mean, there was something about that Rangers Boston game, and we'll get into them individually. There's a let us know if the echo continues. It should be fixed now. NHLNR.
Echo.
The the Rangers Boston game was something about it going into it.
Yeah.
Because the Rangers were struggling through the year, but I've seen they've been turning it around this last couple games, and it's something about the style of both teams. Okay, we're good, good. Uh,
Cool. Thank
Something
you.
about the style of both teams and the way that you've got this young up and coming Rangers team. I don't think there's anybody like most people would agree that this Rangers team is probably has an opportunity to be a dynasty somewhere down the road here. And Boston is Boston Bruins are almost dynasty-esque in the sense that with the talent that they have. So it was just going to be a very
Oh my
interesting
God!
game.
Complimented the Bruins.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Right. Wait. Hold on.
just because I'm not
I miss a week. I come back and it's Pearlo. Wait a minute.
just because
Did you
I'm
just give
not a
Boston
Bruins fan
compliment?
doesn't mean I can't admit
Oh
that they
my!
are a
Oh
very
my!
good
Oh my!
team.
I know. I'm just threw. I had to throw that in there because
Yeah.
of how.
Okay.
They're not the big bad Bruins, okay? They never were. They don't deserve that moniker, and nor did they ever.
Okay, but you know what though, man? You know what though? They keep finding a way to win.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay, they keep finding a
pushing the
way
big
to
button.
put one more goal in net than the other team
yeah.
does, and they keep finding a way to put the wins on.
Luzon, you got Zaboral, adding Smith was a good pickup too. All those guys have been doing well and producing well,
Krejci's
much
been
more than
playing
the
well.
Isles have been able to come in for
Yeah,
guys that they lost, where the Bruins lost Chara and Krug, excuse me, but were able
yeah,
to fill in the holes a little bit better than the Islanders were able to supplant their
exactly,
holes.
exactly. I agree, man. I agree 100%. We all thought that was going to be a big major issue with Boston with them losing those two guys, but they've just the next guy up just kind of stepped in, and then it's like it doesn't seem to have phased them as much. I think now they're starting to get more of a rhythm. I think it phased them a little bit in the beginning because they had to get used to not playing with those guys and not having that you know uh, what do you call that, insurance on the back end. Oh, we got charred crew back there. Well, you don't anymore.
Yeah,
Now you have to depend on other guys that you brought in now, and so that's what I think they're doing. That's what I mean. I've been very impressed with Boston. I really like with what they.
agreed. They've been very impressive thus far.
Well, I mean, they just we were talking about it yesterday. Is good teams, um, good teams know how to do that. You learn how to do that. But the first thing I think before you learn how to do something, you have to believe you can. You have to believe, and that's what
Oh yeah,
Boston believes in themselves. When they get
Yep.
down, there's like no. It seems like there's no question in their mind that they're coming
yeah. They're
back.
so quick.
That they're
Yeah,
coming back. If they don't come back in a game, if you listen to especially a guy like Marchand talk afterwards, they're like surprised. Like, you know what I mean? That
because they're not expecting to
they're not
lose.
expecting to lose, and that's where we're all Philadelphia Flyers fans here, and any team. It doesn't have to be the Philadelphia Flyers. Any team has to get to that point before they're really.
Well, and they've been just finding a way to win.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like it's even more impressive. I think it's more noticeable now because, like you said, they lost Krug. They've always been like this. But the
Yeah,
impressive part is that they're doing it even though they've lost. They've got a really young defense there. Let's face it, Lauzon, Zaboral. Um,
Saboro, yeah, he's young too.
yeah, like these are guys that just came in.
Grizzly game got Took, who had his best game last night. He made that great save. Was that on Kreider? I can't remember. I forgot who.
Yeah, yeah, I
Video
think it was on
from the
Kreider.
site. That fantastic save. He did look like a goofy goober at the end, thinking he got pulled, but it's all right.
What? Like, wait, where's he going?
It all it all worked out in the end.
Yeah.
Julian Gauthier was able to get his first career goal. Good younger AHL career this far, so congratulations to him crashing the net for the Rangers there. Wagner flashed back his junior days and put up a nice breakaway, was able to put that over the side, I believe that was Gorgaev there to score on that breakaway. And then obviously you saw Bjork. I don't know what defense the Rangers were playing there. Anders Bjork literally located himself. That looked like me playing roller hockey. Just got out. No one's playing defense. Cool. Awesome. Let me just go right in front of the net.
Yeah, that was pretty. You cannot have that happen.
I want to build on something what Pearlo said about the Rangers potentially having a dynasty there, because it looks like Lafreniere is getting good chemistry with his line mates. You know, he was playing. They're rotating him in and out with Zibanejad and a couple other guys, but he has been playing really. I mean, for a first-round draft pick, I think he's living up to the bill so far.
He hasn't been on the score sheet,
Right?
but he's really just trying to figure. There's a lot to figure out in the NHL. I mean, that was the concern before going into the season is kids like Lafreniere, who are so big, they get to utilize that so much more in junior. Where in the NHL, if you try to do those same things, you got to figure out different ways here. It's so he's got the skills, he's got all the tools. It's just he's got to arrange those tools in the toolbox to a way that's going to give him a greater advantage in the NHL. But but like you're saying, you can see him doing that. You can see the wheels turning as he's doing what he's doing. Like he's going to be fine. I've heard some things like people have already used the bust word with them, believe it or not. Unbelievable what people do with these kids. 18-year-old kid, if you're in the NHL at all, you're freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Right?
People used it with Hughes last year. They used it with Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes came in.
Third goalies have been playing well.
Shesterkin's been good.
Shesterkin's been good. Yeah. Okay. There you go. So, but they still need to kind of put it together. You know what I mean? And I think you're right, though, Pearlo. I think they're going to be a much more dangerous team in the nearer future more than in the later future because of Lafreniere, because of the team that they're putting together, and because of how things are going down there at the Rangers.
We also got to remember they got Capo Caco, too, who's last year's second overall pick that's taken a slow development, but some guys take 3-4 years, other guys take 1 or 2. And he's looked good on the ice. He just hasn't got the points coming yet, 3-11. So I think he'll get that coming and churning just as Laffy will in time. But they got positives. They got Keandre Miller playing well. Shesterkin's now bouncing back and doing a good thing. So you got positives going. You got Tony DeAngelo's idiotness out of your locker room. So that's also a positive.
Right. It just seems
so,
like it's
I mean, there's definitely more positives going than negatives right now for the future of the Rangers. For this season, it does seem like they're not going to make it this year. This is another year that's showing how guys are developing, who's becoming a part of the twine. Brett Howden has continued to look like a solid, at least bottom 6 career NHL player. He can continue to look a little bit better. Maybe a second liner that can be that Swiss Army knife that has to play on the second line sometimes and does all right, but normally plays your 3-4. So I've liked what I've seen from him as well. Hito, I know Pearlo likes, others in the Rangers organization, so they have some good catch there for sure. But that's pretty much all I have to say on the Rangers front.
Well, yeah, that's more than most. But yeah, it's the defense really that's the issue with the Rangers. We've talked about this before. They get any injuries whatsoever, and then of course the unfortunate or whatever you want to call it with DeAngelo going that happened there. You got
is it unfortunate though?
Yeah, well, I like to. It's unfortunate in ways that we have to for the Rangers that they lose a guy that with that kind of talent because of idiocy. That's where it's unfortunate about it for the Rangers. Then you're throwing Boteto in there, who really isn't an NHL defenseman anymore. Hajek is he's doing okay, but I mean he's a guy that has the type of game that usually takes to your 25, 26 to be seeing regular duty, and now they're playing him regular duty. Besides that, you just got a very young defense. They could use some veteran leadership on here. When you're playing against a team like the Bruins, who also have, a little on that. We talked about a younger defense as well, but they've been able to feed off of guys that have just left. Zdeno Chara, for example. You know,
Yeah.
Lazon is young and Grizzlick is young, but they fed off Krug and Chara for a while. Who did the Rangers really feed off of? Stahl maybe, but he was well over his prime by the time he left. They really
Right.
haven't had that veteran leadership to feed off of. They're kind of going it on their own right now with a very young coach to boot. So
Yeah.
I think that's really the difficult part with the Rangers right now. On paper, though, they look like a team that could very well eventually have incredible roster. And
Yeah.
Panarin was injured last night, by the way.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Yep.
say that they did have some good additions with Panarin. I thought he was a good addition,
Hmm.
but then you also had the fact that Lundqvist missed most of all of last year too, so he wasn't in the locker room because he provided a lot of that veteran type leadership in the Rangers locker room as well.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And so you kind of lost that uh, with him not being there, and now he's really not there. You know what I mean? And so I just think the Rangers are going to be better, just not this year.
No, it's going to affect whatsoever. You need to show up on that surface, not on paper. So
Can't argue that logic at all, man. And here's the other thing too. Moving forward, it's there's going to be some games that are going to be tough for New York, and there's going to be some games that are going to be, I think, winnable for New York. It's looking like the Islanders might be more of a winnable game now, more for the Rangers than what they have been in the past. Looks like maybe
yeah,
even New Jersey might be more of a winnable game for them now as well, too. You know what I'm saying? So they do have a potential to try to fight, but I just don't think it's going to happen this year for them.
Yeah, they were my
me
possible
neither.
surprise team this year. But again, it was a lot of things had to go their way. Zibanejad isn't having the same season as he did last year, so far,
Uh,
anyways. But and Panarin, as
their
we
power
talked
play
about
goals are
before,
down too.
their power play goals are down. It's I think even though I just mentioned Stahl, I think they are missing that leadership. It's not just leadership in the room necessarily to do with overall team. It's actual defensemen on the ice that can calm that defense on that side of the bench, to calm those guys down, to tell them, hey, everything's all right. When young players, when they make mistakes, there's emotional roller coasters going on and stuff like that. And having some veterans on there to calm them down and say, just remember what you are, get back out there and do it again. Just they call it a stabilizing force a lot of the time. And I think they could really use that. They really be a good idea for them to pick up at least one veteran, and I think they're really starting to wonder whether it was a good idea to let Chara go now.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think he was ready more so than they were per se, because I think he wanted to stay there and they just didn't want to pay him or
Yeah.
something along those lines.
Well,
You know what I
no.
mean? And
Yeah.
he wanted to keep playing.
He they couldn't promise him that he was going to play big minutes
That's what I
because they
mean. He
wanted
wanted to
Right.
their
keep playing.
he wanted
Well,
to keep
yeah.
playing. He wanted big minutes.
Yeah.
He goes over to Washington. Hey, look at we were just talking about you, John. We're talking we were talking
Johnny,
about
how's it
how
going?
how they just go throwing around the word goat, to like goat everything Brady and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. There's only one
Hey,
goat.
this is a hockey show, man.
So, anyways, yeah, whatever. Gretzky, Gretzky, everything. But we know there's only one goat, and they just showed up. John from Off the Wall Hockey.
He's here.
But yeah,
Hmm.
they couldn't promise him that. So I don't think anybody made a mistake because, in a sense, because is Fox if Fox is ready for ultimate minutes for big minutes, they're going to give it to him, right? Char's going to have to take a step back. And it seemed to me that Char looked at the roster and said, "There's a really good chance these kids are going to be good enough to beat me out, so I should go somewhere where they're going to for sure give me big minutes." And Washington said, "For sure, we're going to give you big minutes." And he's getting big minutes in
I was
Washington
just gonna say, and he's getting them too. I mean, what?
and doing very well with those minutes.
Yeah, he's putting up points and stuff, so he's doing well, man. Doing well in Laviolette's system. He's doing really well.
Yeah,
I think that's working out really nicely for him. You know what I'm saying? So go Chara.
yeah. But in the end, I think after all of that, they're still looking back going, maybe not the best move. Because now you're looking for a guy. Now you're looking for a guy out there that has maybe a couple cups, that has great leadership and can calm, which was what Chara was. And he didn't sign for a
They
lot
didn't
of money.
get anything for him. The fact that they just kind of let him go.
Yeah.
I mean, or did they try? John, maybe you can answer this or whatever, but did they or did they not try to trade him? I mean,
No,
you would think that somebody
I don't think
would
so, because
be.
his contract was up, and then they just let it. They would have had to sign him and trade him, so he would have. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Boston would have had to have signed him to a contract and then have traded him.
Yeah, because his contract was up, so they
he
would have.
didn't have a contract, so he could have been offered a contract from somebody.
Yeah, it's not like Chara was restricted. He's 43 years old.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
He was.
Somebody could have came along and said, "Hey, man, here's just like, and said, so okay, I got you now." So that's the only reason why they didn't get anything for him, because he wasn't under contract with Boston at the time. So okay, all right.
Yeah, as far as the Rangers are concerned, I think they were probably in on Chara, but on the same note, now that I think about it, he would go to Washington because they got a much more veteran group over there and much better chance to win a cup, right?
And he has much more chance of playing more minutes there too.
Yeah, he's fit in like a glove in Washington. That's for sure. He's fit in very well. So I definitely applaud them for that pickup, and applaud Lavi so far for what he's doing in DC, fighting through stupidity when they had some guys out just because they forgot the protocol. So.
Yeah, that's for sure. No doubt about it.
Now,
Forgot or whatever
I'm glad
happened there.
that you brought that up, Joe, because I have a question that I would like to propose.
Oh, you were talking about this before we got started, so we're all in a.
That's right.
We're all on the edge of our seat, including
You're
us.
all on the edge of your seat. Okay, this is the question I would like to propose. And I understand why sometimes things happen, okay, because of other teams and other reasons. If you're a team and you have, say, 3 players that test positive for COVID, and you are put on the COVID list, whatever the case is, right? And isn't that what the taxi squad is for? Aren't you supposed to then recall those 3 players or 4 or couple players, 2, 3, whatever, to up from the taxi squad who have followed the team, have followed the protocols, are, didn't test positive, whatever the case is, and then play the game, provided that the other team doesn't have the same or more players on the COVID list. What I'm getting at is this. Why did they cancel the Philadelphia-Washington game when only 1 player, potentially 3, tested positive for that game? Nobody on Washington's side did. Why did they cancel that game or postpone that game? Why are they postponing games when, say, one team has 1 or 2 guys that test positive and the other team doesn't? I mean, I thought that's what the taxi squad was for, so that you could put those guys in so that we could keep playing the games. Or do I owe somebody an apology?
It's the fear of another outbreak. If you look at first of all, the Stars at the beginning, and then you look at the Devils with pretty much their entire roster on the COVID list, and then
the Dallas Stars did the same thing at the beginning of the year.
Minnesota added a bunch of people yesterday. Yeah, I think it's for precautionary reasons, like Jamie was saying on Twitter and different people. You're not going to play a game if you think it. Baseball did the same thing. Usually they play the one game, like they played the game in Vegas when they didn't even have their freaking coach, and their GM came down to coach the game for one game, and they canceled the next game. So they have done the whole precautionary at this point when they figure out the protocols better. Because Gary Bettman did pitch to the players. He said, look, we can go in a bubble. We can do a 2-week on, or we can do an on and off thing. We have different things. And just like in baseball, the players said, no, I'm being around my family. I'm doing stuff. I'm doing. So if you're on a long layoff, really you have nobody to blame but yourself.
I'm with you.
Yeah, so there's also a little. I think you know me. I don't trust anyone. I also.
Okay, but you get what I'm trying
at
to
it from the
say,
side.
though.
If I'm the Philadelphia Flyers, and you have like guys like Sanheim, going to be going on, and then you can bring up people from the taxi squad, and you're going to be playing Washington Capitals or, especially in that anybody really in that division. I may be going.
Okay.
You know what? We better make sure here. We better just because I don't want to play that game without Sandy in there. You know what I mean? Like
okay,
I would rather wait
but
a call and make sure we got all our guys and then go back out and play the game. So.
No. I'm with you. And I'm not just talking about the Flyers.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of other teams and a lot of other games that are postponed because there's one or two players on the one team that test positive that are in the protocol,
Yeah.
and then that's it.
Yeah, and that's
why?
And that's it. I think that all of those teams are like, we should just be cautious. And I think that Joe's correct, and as soon as you say that, you kind of got to do it. So they push the envelope so they don't have to play without these players. That's what I think. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you there.
No, but then why have the taxi squad?
The taxi squad is basically for injuries, and you got a player right there, and you know what they're doing. Maybe not COVID related, but like if an injury happens,
that was why the taxi squad was put in.
I think it was
that was the whole reason why the taxi squad was put in.
Put in sports when you look at the writing for why they put it in baseball and hockey was because of what Pearlo said. If a guy gets banged up, they're already in the same protocols as the majors because the minor league protocols.
Yeah, I get you.
Exactly.
I get you. And that keeps it rolling.
Yeah.
It's kind of. I don't think most teams you had with the Carolina Hurricanes, as I mentioned, Minnesota's been adding people left and right. New Jersey's had a lot of people, obviously. Now the Flyers, you're hoping to avoid another outbreak. And obviously the NHL also wants to protect their Tahoe game. So they don't want an outbreak to happen in the Flyers.
I get you.
Because they would prefer to actually have the same teams and not have to send the Rangers or somebody that's
if that's the case, then why is Boston still playing?
Well, because Boston played us and then tested negative. They've done the same thing in other leagues in the NBA. If a team played another team that had an issue and all those guys tested negative, they'll let them fly until they have a issue. So that's not unheard of. They've done that in other leagues. So I think that's for now. If Boston ended up having an issue, they would probably pull the plug on them right away so they could actually have a better team.
That's why I was just trying to make sure. Yeah. Look, I understand why they put that in there, and it was for if guys get injured that they could have players step right in. But isn't that also the same reason? I mean, if you're on the COVID list, that's basically the same thing as being on the injured list. Yeah. And that's the same basic reason why they have the taxi squad there, so they can have those couple of guys that are available to you right away who will pass protocol.
Yeah, I think the original intent was also to do it for COVID, but in the back of everybody's minds, they're like, it's probably not going to work for COVID. Because general managers already have their freaking the wheels turning going. If I have somebody like McKinnon in Colorado, Joe Sakic's not stupid. I'm going to be saying, I don't think it's safe. We better just make sure everybody's fine because they don't want to play without McKinnon, right? So they're gonna push the envelope as much as possible to not have to play. And if they're pushing the envelope, the league's going to go, no, you got to play. Probably not. Not with the environment that's out there. So, but it's one of those.
You do understand why I'm asking the question, though.
Yeah, of course.
Right, because look at what the NFL did. Like, it didn't seem to matter.
The difference with the NFL is my friend made a very good point. I made this argument on the PlayStation to him that you're probably about to say that's literally the same exact thing I said. The NFL 16 games, they have a much shorter window they have to fit their piece of the puzzle into. They kind of were forced to keep pushing along. You have built in extra week for this reason. I think it's actually a week and a half. So they don't have to be as forced. The NFL, you kind of were like, well, we're just screwed if we delay too much. You kind of had to push the memo. Exactly. Yep.
Right. So, okay, great. If a couple guys test positive on your team on the NFL, you have at least a built-in week or 5 days or whatever until you even have to play again, right? So you've got built-in time already. With the NHL, there is no built-in time because there's no gaps in between the games, as there's no, in between periods or anything like that. It's your game every other night now. You know what I mean? So I just think that if they were going to use the taxi squad, then use the taxi squad like they originally intended and continue to use it the way they're doing it by shuffling the injured players in and out and things of that nature. Why should you cancel an entire game because 2 players test positive for one team?
Yeah. Like I said,
I think it's just safety at this point. Safety
okay, but
priority. You don't feel like though. I mean, here's the other side of that argument.
You're talking about, before you go, you're talking about motivation. The motivation for the team is to not, that has their big player out or a couple of their players out, is to not play. So they're going to push that envelope as much as possible. Where in the NFL, the motivation is to get as many games in as they possibly can. So it's the difference in motivation.
Yeah, what were you going to say, Joe?
The big thing is you've had the states have always pushed sports to stay the same. Believe it was the Roosevelts have done it in the wars. Trump, who was the previous president, now Biden, pushed the sports leagues to stay the same as coronavirus. They said you're basically part of the morale of century. So when you do that, the other flip side of that argument, when you say you should keep playing through COVID, you're opening the can of worms of that's now saying athletes are essential workers. So therefore, they should get the vaccine well before I do. That's technically what that should mean at that point.
Oh, I got you what you're saying. Yeah.
Because if you're pushing them through saying you should play through the virus, even when 4 guys have it on the team, because that's what taxi squad is, you're pretty much saying like how my dad has to go into work every day because he's essential. You're an essential worker. So therefore, if that's the case, after the elderly and after they get the vaccine, before people in my generation get it, then technically the athletes should get it next, so that the league can keep churning in the NBA and not MLB, NHL, so they don't have the issues of the NFL and what they've had so on early thus far in the NHL. So that also opens up that can of worms, which then gets complicated. Are athletes actually essential workers because of the way both countries push them to keep playing? And then that becomes a different conversation.
And we don't want to open that can of worms for that because that's not what this is about.
John from Ricketts Picks is in the house. Welcome, buddy. Thanks for coming in.
Hey, cool.
So anyways,
there was another game that...
There was another game. Yeah, there was a game.
Yeah, there was another game that happened last night.
There was games on TV.
Yes.
Yeah.
That I was actually very excited. This is the game that I really wanted to watch. I mean, I was excited about the Rangers and the Boston game, but this is a game that I really wanted to watch.
Yeah.
Because it was a rematch of opening night.
Mm-hmm.
And I really thought that a much better showing for Montreal than what it was. And it really basically proved that Toronto is the real deal, man.
Yeah.
If they can get completely outshot by Montreal by, oh my gosh, it was like 40-22 or something like that.
35-24.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Still, that's being significantly outshot for a team like Toronto who does nothing but put goals in.
Yeah.
So
I watched.
Their defense is playing well. Yeah, their defense is playing well. Anderson played really, really well.
Anderson is off the charts. Now on the other side of that though, is Price has not been off the charts this year.
Nope.
That is really the ish, kind of rearing up its ugly head a little bit here. Is interesting stat. The Price has. For high risk shots, he's like up there in the top 5 in the league. But low risk shots, and we've mentioned this a couple times, he's in the bottom of the league. He's letting bad goals in, which is not Price.
Yeah, Dermott wasn't that great of a goal. I think the goal that Dermott shot off at the Comic Con
should have had that.
I think Price would have been able to have that more times in the past. I think he would have said he should have been able to have that one. Yeah, that's a prime example there. Makhayev's the one just kind of bounced to him. You can't do crap about that.
Right.
And then Hall had a very nice slap shot that maybe he would have said he should have had, but Hall
I think
also
that one changed a little direction too on that one.
Direction a little bit. If you're Carey Price, he himself would probably say he should have had it, but I can't blame him much on that. But yeah, he still hasn't looked himself, and you never say that about Carey Price ever. So
very seldom.
It seems like it seems like he's going to bounce back as he always does. This is just something we'll be done talking about in about a week and a half or 2 weeks. But for right now, yeah, he's definitely struggling and not looking as good. And Jake Allen's been stepping up for him as a backup and looking pretty darn good. So we'll have to see what goes on there. But Toronto, just as Steele said, I almost called him Tampa. Toronto, just as Steele said, definitely has been flourishing a lot more. They've been finding every single way to win, pushing the right buttons, pushing the right envelope. So, yeah, they look like they'll be the top team in the North, which I predicted in my Pub Sports Radio article divisions.
There you go. I mean, we talked about that too, even that if Toronto could just have defense and if their goalies could just, stop the puck on a more regular basis, that this team would be completely and utterly dangerous.
Yeah, it's typically an important thing for a goaltender.
Stopping the puck?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually, I mean, they don't need to stop the puck. Are you kidding?
No, he's a nice guy. That's all that matters,
Yeah, he's a nice guy, and it's all great, Yeah, he's no. Look,
the fact that jazz musician too, so he plays free concert.
Yeah, there you go. The fact that we talked about that at the beginning of the season, that we were all like, yeah, Toronto could be if certain things took place, if certain aspects of their game caught on, and it appears that's what the case is. Their defense doesn't look that bad, okay? I mean, they were completely outshot by Montreal, but Montreal was just skating around. You know what I mean? And so I don't know, man. I think Toronto, they got the goods. They've won what now? They've 11 games now.
I think it was 12 last night, wasn't it?
Or 12 games now. I mean, dang.
And they played a lot too. It's not like the thing that's impressed me about Toronto is it's not like they've had a light schedule. They've been doing this with a fairly tough schedule.
One of the toughest, yeah.
And what really impresses me is, like you said last night, that they were kind of outplayed in a lot of areas of the ice, but they just keep on getting it done. And Frederik Andersen, any thought that Frederik Andersen was a problem in Toronto, you can throw that right out the window. He is, that's really the biggest thing. When a team has a goaltender that's playing like that, it just boosts you up so much. And especially a team like Toronto that has so many offensive weapons that they do, and they can say, you know what, I can take a risk here because Fred's back there. That is so much different. And on the opposite side of things right now, I think when I was watching the game last night, Montreal was playing on the defensive mindset, where instead of taking the risk, they were going back and getting back on their heels a little bit at the wrong times, and that's just, you can't do that against Toronto. Toronto's just got too many people. Matthews is probably going to wreck you. One of them is going to. They got too many good shots out there to be able to play back on your heels like that.
Yeah, the only thing I have left to say on Toronto is Campbell played through a game with an injured leg. He looked good since coming over there. He looked like he might have found his place to be a good backup behind Anderson, and it looks like now in Anderson's contract year that it looks like they should re-sign him and retain him, which I thought so for a while. But now that's definitely getting supplanted. That's what they should do.
Who was that again? Sorry, you cut out there.
That they should definitely re-sign him. It's definitely getting proven now that that's what they should
absolutely.
do.
If they can find the room for it's. They're going to have the same thing next year with the cap issues and stuff like that. But that you're not even thinking about that right now with this team. When you got a guy like William Nylander, who's an incredible talent, and he's only getting 15 minutes a night, like that goes and tells you the depth that they are having right now. all along their all through their lineup. It's just even John Tavares only played 15 minutes last night.
Yeah, I mean, what's up with that?
It's just they can afford to give some guys some rest throughout games now. That's part of the reason why they know they have such a tough schedule that if they get up a little bit, they'll start playing their lower lines a little more to give their big guys some rest.
Yeah, but you don't do that against Montreal.
That's pretty confident to do that.
That's what I mean. Because Montreal is like what, the second best team in the North?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
They came off to one of the hottest starts that they've had in quite a long time, you know. And yeah, okay, Price hasn't been playing as best. Allen has stepped in where Price hasn't. You know what I mean? And they've been winning games.
Yeah,
So
Sheldon Keefe is really showing himself up to be a great coach too, and showing confidence in your lower lines like that is going to pay off later on, right? You want all your lines playing confident, so you better show confidence in them, and that's what he's doing.
exactly. Can't argue with you on that one, man, for sure.
But
Uh,
I mean, that's like you said, you wanted to see the Toronto Montreal game here in Canada. I mean, that's two Toronto and Montreal, the two iconic teams playing against each other. And for a coach to go into that type of a game, get up a little bit,
yeah,
and go, okay, we're gonna. It's not like they were blowing them out either. And we're gonna give Tavares a little bit of a rest here because we're gonna play our lower lines
yeah.
because I'm so confident in them
I
that they're
mean, it
not.
was what? It was 3-1. It was 3-1 with like 6 or so minutes left in the third
Yeah,
when Montreal put the other goal in to make it 3-2,
yeah.
right? So I mean, they were outshot, and a lot of times Montreal was outplayed. I think, and it's not like Toronto was really playing their A game.
Yeah, yeah,
No, but
and yet he still kept going with their lower lines, and he kept them playing.
yeah, that goes back to what we said about the goal. When the goalie's playing better, if you're not playing your best game, you're gonna find ways to win games with the team you have. And also, it goes back to what we said about the bees. When you're a great team, and it seems like the Maple Leafs have gone from good to great this year, they
Finally,
found ways to win, found ways to persevere through not playing their best game, and they've had one of the hardest schedules, as Pearlo touched on. So yeah, it's just going to be still hard sailing for them for the most part. That's the toughest division, if not the second toughest. So you're going to have to see what's going on up there as time goes on. But I think as of now, they're definitely the clear front runners to win the division, especially with Campbell when he eventually comes back. He looked good. I think he's going to continue to look good up there. He seems comfortable there in Toronto as a backup. So I think you got two good ones there at goaltender.
yeah. And I
Yeah,
think really the only team really that's gonna be a challenge to Toronto is going to be Montreal. You know what I mean? So they better.
possibly.
I mean, they better figure it out if they want to win the division. You know what I mean? They just realized who they have to go through to get it.
Yeah, unlike John, unlike the goat, I haven't given up on Vancouver yet. I still think Vancouver's going to make a comeback here. So we'll see. I know you're looking at the record, going, really, Perla?
Well, no, I'm not
But
really looking at the record, but we'll see. We'll
yeah,
see.
I think the biggest downfall that I'm seeing with, and I was hoping that it wasn't going to be this way, but something in the back of my mind said it might, is that Holtby just doesn't look good. That's really their biggest problem right now, I think. Holtby doesn't really look good, and he's trying to hold on to the fact that he is good, but he hasn't been. But that was Vancouver. I don't know why we're talking about Vancouver, but oh yeah, because you brought up that they're going to run away. Montreal and Toronto are going to possibly run away with it, but they are the ones to beat right now in that division, for sure. All the other ones are like in the middle of the pack, and they're running. If it was a horse race, they would be definitely 1-2, right?
That's for sure.
Okay, so let's get into, I guess, tonight's games then, unless you had any more you wanted to talk about that.
No, I'm good. I just wanted to ask that one question because I wanted to see what you guys thought,
Yeah, you're always good with the questions. I love that. It's awesome.
Yep, for sure. Always bringing the flyer question.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
got to
yeah,
keep you guys on your toes,
yeah. It's like you've been
right?
thinking or something. Uh, Islanders. Okay, well, we already talked about the Penguins. I mean, we might as well get right into that. With all the stuff going on with the Penguins and Rutherford leaving, going down, and they got new management now, and now they're going to be playing the Islanders tonight. Uh, what do you guys got on this game? This is pretty interesting after all this went down, isn't it?
Steel, you can go first if you will.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this. They're, Crosby saying the right thing. Oh, I can't wait to work with Ron Hextall and Burke and all. All the players are saying the right thing. Hextall now is the GM, and Brian Burke is now suddenly the president of hockey operations. That they're suddenly just gonna start, rattling them off. Unless
Yeah.
they do, hey, stranger things have happened. If Yari can stop some pucks, and their defense has been playing much better. They got some good skaters. They got some decent players back there. You know what I'm saying? They have a relatively decent team. They've been putting wins together. You know what I'm saying? And the Islanders haven't. I mean, they're the surprise. I'm so surprised at the lack of Islander uh, wins, better play. I'm surprised more so at the Islanders because I had the Islanders picked to win the East. Okay, and
You did. That's right. Yeah, you did.
yeah, right. So I had the Islanders to win the East, but they don't look like they're winning the East right now, do they?
Not even
Hey, Avatar, how you doing, buddy?
if we were
Thanks.
playing horseshoes, I don't think they would be too close.
But they
No, they're
have
not
they
even in the same pit, man. For
they
real, okay.
they just had a 3 day break, and they
If
came
they
back.
come
Who
out
did who
tonight
did
and
they
look flat against Pittsburgh, they're not. There's something's going on.
who did they just play? It was the Rangers, wasn't it? And they looked great. I think it was the Rangers that they just played, and they looked back to their old selves again. I have a feeling that
Hey,
it's
what's
gonna.
up, Avatar?
They just needed some time to practice, and they got some time to practice with their new mates. They got a lot of new players there
Yep.
and stuff. And
Yeah.
Barry Trotz doesn't need to have much time with the team to practice to get them all rowing in the same play way again. And I have a
Yeah.
feeling that the Islanders are going to take this one tonight.
Yeah, I did watch the interview they did with Barry Trotz yesterday. They did a special interview with him like either a couple of days ago or something like that. And when you listen to what he does as far as how he coaches his teams, and you can't not understand why guys wouldn't want to play for him, and why it was such a stupid move for Washington to get rid of him after he won the cup for them. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. I do think that the Islanders need to turn the corner. And if you're saying a couple of days off, they played really well. The last game, a couple of days off, and Barry Trotz gets everybody rolling, then yeah, Pittsburgh is going to be a perfect game for them to come out and display their prowess of win ability, and they could potentially be on a roll here. So
Yeah.
I like that. Don't look. I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day about what his thoughts are on the whole. You guys touched on it yesterday and the day before and everything because it's been the latest in the news. I think it signals a huge trend that's going to have to happen in Pittsburgh with the hiring of Ron Hextall and Brian Burke. I think you're going to see what Hextall did with LA and what he did with Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to try to build through the draft. And the only way you do that is to get draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the only way to get draft picks is to what? Trade away players.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And
some things are going to change. It ain't going to be this year in Pittsburgh per se. There's going to be some trade deadline moves, and he might try to move some minor league guys around because I don't know what Pittsburgh's minor league looks like.
doesn't look good, bud. Doesn't look good.
So
No, Poulin's their top prospect.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. That to me right there just signifies that's a huge flag for me that says the fact that they hired Hextall, yep, this is completely rebuild. There's no such thing as retooling. The only thing is they're going to stick with Crosby as their cornerstone, and that's going to be it moving forward until he retires.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting because you brought in Berkey, who's not a spring chicken, and then you brought in Hextall, who's more of a rebuild guy. So it's interesting that Burke would want to leave the Sportsnet desk, which obviously what's his face came right at his Ryan Getzlaff came right at his throat for after he accepted the job. He basically said, "Well, you weren't even good at being an analyst anyway, so you might as well go back to doing what you're actually good at." But
well, there you go then.
Yeah, but they he said, because he put on Twitter, "I love when my former players keep me humble." But yeah, he's gonna do good stuff there. He's a top exec, better than an analyst at his exec job by a large margin. And he's gonna do good. But it's interesting you bring in a guy like him with Hextall when I think it's because maybe he already has a lot of the relationships. Maybe the guys that Hextall's grinded their gears a little bit because they said he's not always the easiest guy to get along with. He gets the job done, but they said he's not always the easiest to get along because it's kind of my way or the highway. So Berkey might have better relationships with some of those guys to be able to kind of mend fences if Hextall kind of pissed some guys off in the past. And what's up, Mikael? I hope you're having a great and safe day.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
I agree.
What I was going to say also is, though, if there is a way that Pittsburgh wins this game tonight, I don't know if it's going to translate tonight, but if Pittsburgh does a rebound here, Sullivan has a perfect opportunity the coach of Pittsburgh Penguins, who's a pretty darn good coach, has a perfect opportunity to say, do you see what's going on here? Do you see why do you think that we brought Hexy in here? Do you want this to happen? Right? If you don't want this to happen, we better be outworking this team every single night right now. If you don't want this rebuild that looks like is happening to happen, you got two choices. You can bitch and moan and complain that they brought in a guy that's rebuilt two organizations, or you can go out there and prove them wrong. And that is what I think Sullivan's going to do. You want to prove them wrong. You want to make it so they're going, oh, maybe we shouldn't have signed Hextall here, right? Because
you're hoping that's what he does or something.
Oh, I'm sure Sullivan's going to do that. Whether it's going to
Sullivan's
work
a hell of a coach. Yeah, he's likely going to perform well. I completely second what you just said there on your take on Sullivan being able to really pounce and do well. Still, he'll pull the most out. Keeping a guy, or you should have kept a bigger skater like Bukestad instead of bringing in other guys like you did to replace him when you don't have that bigger guy as much in your lineup. I thought he would have been a better guy to keep than bringing in a different type of player.
Agreed.
As they brought in the offseason. So there's different things, but they're going to have to rebuild. I don't think they're going to retool and be able to figure it out enough unless if Yari becomes a star and not just a good goaltender.
I don't see that happening.
I'm not seeing that right now. I can see him being a good goaltender. I'm not seeing him being the next Jonathan Quick for a 5 year season.
No,
I'm not sure.
And DeSmith is not giving me the warm fuzzies either.
Well,
DeSmith's a career like he's a guy that probably would have won the starting job over Yari if it wasn't for cap restrictions last year. Then Yari played well himself, but it was likely. But it's weird how that whole situation happened.
Jari put up huge numbers last year. I think he's struggling with the same thing Murray struggled with when he was left on his own after Fleury left. It's just now is he going to mentally be a number one or not? So far, he's not winning that battle. But he put up great numbers when he had that cushion of Murray there. But now that he's on his own and it's just the Jari show, and not to mention you're staring at Cody Ceci and Matheson, and that's really one of the main reasons why I think Rutherford is on his way out here, is they looked at his body of work of young players he brought in. Hornqvist for Matheson. Matheson is younger. With bringing in Cody Ceci, and then also the first round pick they watched everybody crowded around their TV set and watch Amirov in the World Juniors crush it for Russia, while they watch Kapanen not so crush it for Pittsburgh, right? That was the
Yeah.
trade there, and they're thinking, yeah, we
Yeah.
probably maybe better move on here. And I think he kind of saw the writing on the wall because that was never what Rutherford was. Rutherford was never a rebuild general manager, and it's possible he thought he would give it a shot. And of course, you believe in yourself, but they went, well, from the what you've done so far, we're probably going to have to go a different direction. And
Yeah.
before they could let him go, he said, you know, you can't fire me. I quit. I think he did one of those things.
Well,
Yeah, he's a legendary executive himself, Hall of Famer, so he doesn't have anything to give that back to anybody else. He's done enough.
Yeah,
I
70,
agree.
70 some year old guy that has
Yeah.
won cups. I mean, you can say whatever you want about him. He's got more cups than us by a long shot.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so we both think that maybe um the Islanders are gonna take care of this game here
Yeah, I
tonight. Or
didn't
was that
get to
I
say
think so,
anybody
yeah.
because we're talking about so much other stuff.
That would be my lean for sure. I think the Islanders will definitely
all
win this
right.
one tonight.
Thank you,
Okay.
Avatar. I appreciate your subscription, man. I appreciate everybody jumping on here. Sorry we haven't been around so much, but yeah.
Got to get it all connected. Subscribe to SteelFlyers, YouTube, My Sports Fanatic News, Pearlo's NHL Pal. I put that in when I shared it out on Facebook.
Yeah, man.
We're all interconnected. We all appear on different people's channels. Deli actually is supposed to be on my channel next Wednesday.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I
For the
can't even
Patreon.
get Delhi now. What's going on?
So,
Well, that's
so
because you guys are talking LA, right? In Anaheim.
Yeah. He's a
Yeah,
big.
because
yeah,
you cover the
yeah,
LA. You
he
cover
knows I
LA.
cover some of the teams out
Yep,
there.
yep.
We're gonna probably talk about all the battles of California, and do an all California pretty much podcast. Yeah, that was kind of my plan. But I didn't send him the deets yet. He said send them to me by Monday.
All right, there you go. Cool.
Yeah.
So,
All
all right,
right.
we'll head off to the next game here, which is going to be another rivalry type game. Tampa Bay versus Florida, the Lightning versus the cross-state rivals here. And not only that, Florida is putting up numbers to make this interesting.
Yes, sir. Yep, they're definitely putting up numbers. Looking like a guy that's fitting very
Yep.
well as the fit.
Mm-hmm.
Just fitting into exactly what you want his role to be. He's basically getting it done, being that physical brute shot blocker, and has a +4. Has looked good. Obviously, he's not going to pitch in on offense, but who the heck cares? Because that's not what you need from him. He's supposed to be a good, aggressive, physical player. He's doing exactly that. Jonathan Huberdeau is playing 4 above a points per game. Obviously, the great facilitator that can also score. So he's looked good thus far. Barkey's looked pretty solid since coming back. I mean, they definitely have stuff moving in the right direction. That's for sure. If you're a Florida Panthers fan, this is a team I would definitely be excited about. You also have another veteran in Anton Strawman. So I think they've done a good job at having their young guys have veterans, like we talked about other teams, Pearlo, on your show, that do not have the veteran presence to help supplant the youngsters. Florida does. They have the Gudises on defense. They got the Strawmans of the world.
Yep.
They brought in Patrick Hornquist, as we mentioned, which ends up being a much better trade for them. Hornquist looks very good thus far.
Oh, yeah.
And Matheson looks like a slob in Pittsburgh that's drunk every game. So the
say what you really mean there, buddy.
I was just gonna say, gosh, how do you feel about that guy?
Then you have
You know
Then you
Matthew's watching right now too.
Look, that threw him way off.
You know
Then you
Matthew's
have a
watching
dread-
right now too, eh? So like
Well,
he's probably on his 8th or 9th beer. He's not drunk quite yet.
All right.
well, unless if he's Wade Boggs, yeah, then he'll be all right.
Yeah.
Able to get it about to go 6 for 6 with a grand slam on after drinking.
Yeah,
each
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But Drager's looked better than Bob, but that's a good thing, honestly, with the record you're at, to have the fact that Drager looks better than Bob, and you're already flourishing and performing and doing amazing, doing good, and being able to do stuff despite how Bobrovsky has looked. And that's a positive in my eyes, not a negative. So that's something I definitely have to shout out there. And then the last and not least thing would just be I definitely will continue to shout out the fact of their coaching staff and how well they've been doing. It seems like you brought up the whole goaltending. They have that kind of goaltending department. I remember you brought up, in a video coming into the season, Pearlo, and that seems to be working out really well. Better for everyone else that's not named Sergei Bobrovsky, oddly enough, but he seems to be coming along. Dreger looked good. They got that. Hold on, I wrote his name down so I pronounce it right with the Desrosiers, I think is how you say that game. Philippe Desrosiers. I wrote it down with the pronunciation thing. He was actually the second round pick from Dallas years ago. So I could. So he's a guy that you picked up as a veteran for the AHL. Has been around the block a little bit down there. Has experience similar to the Flyers. McIntyre, they picked up that has once had some promise but hasn't figured it out. Maybe you can strike lightning in a bottle and find a third string goaltender that can at least be a Lyon-esque, if not more, out of him. So you have to see. It's going to be interesting, but I think this team's going to continue to do well. I just don't know if they're going to do well enough, as you said yesterday, Pearlo, to be a continuous playoff team, but I think they'll do well enough to continue to be a surprise team this year. We'll just have to see if they surprise enough to continue to be this hot to make the playoffs, because they're in a pretty nasty division when push comes to shove with other teams that are playing hot as well. So that's the only thing. You got to see if they continue that pace. Because right now you have a Chicago team that's also in the playoffs, which nobody thought that was going to be the case. Yeah. CBJ is just in, probably is not better than Carolina and or Dallas, honestly, on paper, going back to that on paper thing. And I'm going to shoot to you to put it to you. In this game, because I know I would, Bob hasn't looked as good. Dreiger's looked better. I would match up Dreiger against Vasilevsky, not Sergei Bobrovsky. I think that gives your team a better chance actually to come in and beat Tampa than Sergei Bobrovsky does at this point. What are your thoughts on that as I turn it over to the host again?
Well, who's the host? We're all the hosters. Yeah, I think they just keep on going back to Bobrovsky and crossing their fingers for $10 million. Please don't make us do this.
Did you just have all of your fingers crossed?
Yeah, please don't make us do this. All
right, that's sick, man. Okay,
does Drigger give them a better chance to win right now? Yes, but do they want to deal with that reality? No. They keep on throwing, especially against your crosstown rivals. Like, what do you do as a coach here? If you stop playing Bob when he has no confidence, which I'm assuming is the problem, he's not going to get any. And you have an owner that you got to look at every day, and that paid $10 million a year to this guy. We talked about like elephant in the room. Well, I mean, this is the alien elephant in the room here. This is every time you go in, you see Bobrovsky, you go, dude, you are the problem. You are the problem, all right? And I don't know what his attitude is like, but I'm getting that he is oblivious to the fact. He's oblivious to the fact that he is the problem here, and that's the worst part of the problem.
Yeah, well, I think Bob, or disregarding the fact that Bob struggled, and I think no matter what your goaltender is, whether it's a name brand or not, if they're struggling and the other guy's doing better, you got to ride with the other guy. I mean, I don't think, we saw Vanacek did really well. I don't think if just having that one struggle game against the Flyers, Lavi's going to be like, well, you know what? You're never playing again for 5 days. It's like, no, you're still going to ride with the guy that's been good recently. Ottinger, they've been riding with the hand somewhat forced, but I think they're continue to do that in Dallas because of how good he does. You usually ride with the hot hand. That's what the coaches do. And if you want to stay hot and you want to stay competitive, especially with the Tampa Bays, your Florida foe, you got to do that. You can't be thinking, well, we paid this guy so much money. That's usually what you should do business strategy-wise, because obviously you want your freaking $10 million player to pan out and not make you look like a bag of nuts of stupidity. But if that's what happens, you just got to accept it and figure it out and let Dreger come in, be the guy. You got Spencer Knight, you got Levi, you got guys. It's not like you don't have two great goaltenders, not one, two, coming up the pike, and already have Dreger. Montebolt's been all right in the minors, but I think he's gone. I don't even know if he's still in the room. If he is, he's not a guy that I think is an NHL guy, more of an AHL goaltender. But they found different guys that are able to do it. We'll see what they're able to do.
I think you play Bob.
but I think they should play Dreger, but they probably are going to play Bob.
So what do you think?
I think they should play Bob. I watched the game that he played the last game that he played in. I watched it, okay, and I thought he looked pretty good in that game, okay, and I was quite impressed with how well he looked in that game because he hasn't looked good in a couple of games that I had watched previously before that. And we all talked about what we thought if Bob plays up to his Vezina, quote unquote, Vezina levels, that's going to carry Florida, right?
Correct.
Well, we've learned that his backup is just as good and has played better than Bob. Okay, so it's not because of Bob that they're losing. So if Bob is not creating them, they're always going to put Bob up there as long as, you know what I mean? Because now they know they got somebody back there they can put in case Bob gets shaky.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So I think they're going to continue to ride with Bob until he gets that, stinker game or that, gets another whatever. We'll see, unless there's back-to-backs or however it goes. I'm not the coach of Florida. This is just my opinion. I don't know what's going on down there. I just think that they're going to play Bob. I do agree with what you're saying, though. When goalies get hot, they do tend to ride the hot goalie. You know what I mean? And that's usually strategically the best way to do it is to put the guy who's winning the most in there, back there, put him in there. But you also have to keep, because goalies are so odd and you have to keep their confidence up, the only way to keep their confidence up is to give them starts.
Yep.
And
but I think that's also the flip. If he's struggling, you can at least platoon. You don't want to keep Dreiger out enough when he's doing his hot either. So the flip side of that argument is you should play him enough. Where I just know for me, if I ever am blessed enough to get a management job, if my coach keeps playing a guy because he gets paid $10 million and I'm not even the manager that gave him $10 million,
but I don't think that's why they're playing him.
I'm not sure that's why they're playing him either. But
yeah, I was just gonna say I don't think that's why they're playing him because he signed a $10 million a year contract. I don't think they care how much he's making. Yeah. They care about who's going to give them the best chance to win.
Well, it kind of does seem like it though, because if you're thinking of who gives them the best chance, it's kind of like Ryan Howard with the Phillies at the end. He sure as hell did not give him the best chance to win on the field when he had a messed up leg from his.
Okay, but if you look at Dallas, and you look at Bishop and Hudobin, Bishop was making way more money than Hudobin was at the time, and they were going with Hudobin because they gave them the better chance to win.
He also had injury issues and different stuff.
Well, that's true too, but it's hard to try to compare something like that. You know what I mean? So I just think they're going to go with Bob. Look, if they don't go with Bob and they go with the backup, hey, and they win, all right. I don't think no matter who's going to go up against Tampa, it's going to be a long, hard.
I think Dreger has the better chance. That's the reason why.
Okay.
Here's the way I look at it. Okay.
What's the over/under on Dreger starting? Right?
Dreger.
I don't think it's high. I think Bob.
No, he's already started. He's already started. Dreger is probably going to win you the game now. I think what you have to look at though is what's the most likely chance Florida wins a cup? With Dreger playing his best or Bob playing his best? If Bob comes, Dreger's probably never going to get to Vezina caliber goaltending. Maybe he might be another Binnington, but Bob, if you can get Bob playing like he did in Columbus, which I don't know if you will be able to, because then I'm going to have to talk about Tortorella, and then you don't want that to happen. But if he can get up those kind of numbers, then Florida has the best chance to win a Stanley Cup. So what's the best way to get Bobrovsky there? I agree with Steel. You got to play him.
That's true, but they ain't winning a cup this year.
No, but ever win a cup. Ever win a cup.
Probably not going to be this
I
year.
don't think Bob's going to be. I mean, the thing is, too, you signed him for a while, but you signed him for a while knowing you're probably going to move him during that contract, because unless if you're dumb and don't know your own farm system. Because you have Spencer Knight.
Well, it seems like they don't know the farm system.
And you have Levi, who developed, he didn't think was going to be as good, and then Dreger's looked way better, far beyond belief. So you don't want Bob his whole contract. Unless if he starts doing great.
He's not going to finish.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to finish in Florida, because you have one of the best developing goalies. That's why I'm saying I would go with the hot hand because Florida ain't winning the Cup this year. They already have a goaltender of the future. I don't even think Bob is that. So that's why I would
actually you mentioned both of them. They had Levi and Spencer. So
yeah, but the problem is, okay, now this is where the $10 million does come in. If Bob isn't what he is,
you gotta suck it up.
You're never going to get rid of him.
You're just gonna have to throw in. You just gotta have to hope you build your team up good enough,
or buy him out
and throw in picks.
Buy him out. You're already not a cap floor team, and you're going to buy him out and get what, like $7 million off your cap every year for the next 20 years. That's the problem.
Okay. Well, that's still better. Look, $7 million a year is still better than $10 million a year.
Well, yeah, I know that's the thing. That's the thing. Is if he doesn't work out, it's a mess. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess.
We ain't at that point yet, so let's wait till we get to that point before we start figuring out where he's going.
So I think what they're doing is what's going to be the best way to get Bobrovsky to do it, because
that makes sense to me. Yeah,
because if it doesn't happen, they're screwed. So he's really the most important person.
They might as well give him. I mean, what do they have to lose at this point? They might as well put him out there and see what's what.
Yep.
I mean, that makes sense.
You know what I mean? Why not?
Yeah.
You give everybody the opportunity behind him to develop. Right, because there's no pressure on any of the other guys to come in and play. Everybody knows, Bob's the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right, so
yeah, it's tough.
All right.
It's a tough situation, but
I would say though, I'm gonna go with the upset here. I'll go with Florida. I didn't even say who the hell I thought would win the other game. That's the Islanders, because we just kept talking about different things.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go with you on the Islanders against Pitt. But no, I don't think that's going to happen against Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay is going to run all over Florida.
Yeah, I got Tampa Bay.
I don't care who's in net. In fact, I'll tell you what, whoever's in net is going to get chased.
I think that Tampa's winning.
Their drugger will be in anyway.
There you go.
I got to go with Tampa because of what I just said about Bobrovsky. Until I see Bobrovsky that can win, I'm going with Tampa. Simple as that. Yep. That's why. Okay, so the next one, and then the more drama, some more drama, and interesting stuff. Columbus Blue Jackets and the Chicago Blackhawks, two of the most interesting teams in the NHL right now, as far as I'm concerned. As far as one of them being the Chicago Blackhawks playing way over what we all expected. I would imagine. I don't think anybody expected them to be doing this well at 6-4-4. And the Blue Jackets going through all of the things that they're going through. And of course, we can't talk about this game without talking about Laine being benched. So I'll send it, I guess it's back to Steel here. What are your thoughts on this, Steel?
Okay. I really like what Chicago is doing. Quite impressed with what they're doing. We all... based off of what you said, we all did not think Chicago was going to have a decent year because they came right out and said that they were rebuilding right off the bat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not surprised at what's going on in Columbus. And you can call me a hater, you can call me whatever you want. I don't really care, but I'm going to say this. I think that Tortorella is making it about Tortorella and not about Columbus Blue Jackets. Okay? His ego and not about what's going on there. And I think that's distracting from what's really needed in Columbus. Okay? I'm not taking anything away from the fact that he's won a lot of games, and I'm not taking anything away from the fact that he's been able to come in and get teams to win right away because he finds a way to get things and abilities out of players. Okay? I don't like the way he does it, and I don't like how his approach is. Okay, but that's just my opinion. And I think that's what's wrong with Columbus. And I don't think they're going to get anywhere until they find a coach that's going to be able to get them to where they need to go, because I don't think Tortorella is going to be the one to do it.
Yeah, he said about Laine, he didn't want to bench him. You never want to bench anybody. I mean, obviously. But he's a guy, obviously, that you need when you want to be able to pot a goal, do that. Their defense looked a little bit shaky in that game. Laine's not necessarily the guy you're going to put on the ice more when your defense already looks shaky in the game you're playing. So it all goes into play with different things. I think when Torch he first came in, when Line first came in, and Torch commented on him, he talked about how he liked his personality and everything. I think it's just both are pretty blunt, both are pretty straight at it guys. So you see how that gets along.
We lost him.
I don't know.
He'll come back.
Let's see if he comes back. Right now, he's staring into space.
Yeah.
But...
Hello.
There he is. Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Back, yeah.
Well, I think we might have lost him. Yeah, we lost him. He's out.
He'll come back.
Yeah, he'll come
this
back.
happened last time. But I would.
I know how you feel about Toronto or Columbus. I know how you feel about. I just don't.
I hate
I'm just not seeing it with these guys, man.
Well,
I'm just not.
Okay.
It just seems like he's making it about him.
No, it seems like that, but I don't think he is. I understand where you're getting that from.
Okay.
But, okay.
Please correct me. Please correct me. Oh, great Perlo. Please lay some wisdom on me. Welcome back, Joe.
Yeah, I hate technology.
Yeah. We can't see you either. Okay.
I think back. We'll give it some time. Yeah, I think it's just behind.
Here's the thing. Did you hear the quote from Lion A afterwards? This is what I love about Lion A. People don't agree with me on Tortorella or Lion A. I get a lot of flack from my love of Lion A. I think Lion A is fantastic. And I think the two of these guys are perfect for each other. And Lion A is going to thrive in here, and Columbus is going to be great. Lion A, after getting benched, said, can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Lion A, after being benched, said, he goes, I think it's a good thing. I said something like he didn't go into what it was, but apparently he said something to the coaching staff that Tortorella just will not accept, whatever it was. And that's what happened. It had nothing to do with what he was on the ice or whatever the case may be. But what blew me away is Lion A said, you know what? I think this is a good thing. This means that the coach doesn't have favorites and he's willing to do things that are, and not worry about what's going on.
We already knew that.
Yeah, but not worry about what's going on or what his decisions are going to be viewed as. Lion A said this, and
Lion A matured. That shows maturity too.
Yeah, but that's so. And Lion A said that. Tortorella said he didn't want to, but he had to because he was protecting his assistant coaches or sticking up for his assistant coaches for whatever he said. I don't know what he said or whatever the case may be. But through it all, nobody in that room anywhere along the line here has come out and said, that this was not something that shouldn't happen. He's been... It was, everybody kind of said, yeah, it was probably the right thing to do. So I'm still sticking with it. And the reason why I've always loved Tortorella is he's done things without worrying about how it was going to be perceived. So
yeah, I'm fine with Torch just due to the simple thing of, I remember the great movie, The Miracle Speech and all that. And I think if I had a coach like that, I would, as much as if you're just a great motivator in other ways, I'm still, like, if you're someone that's yelling, doing that, I'm going to run through a brick wall for you as well, because I don't feel like getting destroyed in the entire locker room by the coaching staff if you don't perform to 110. So sometimes that'll benefit guys. Other guys can't handle that. So it just depends what can you handle. It was a better deal for both sides, what I tried to say before Skype decided to be a terrible service.
Yeah, right.
But you had Dubois switch and you had Line A come in. I think it works out great for both sides. As I said before, Dubois' father works in the organization up there, so that makes sense for him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Roslovich is from CBJ.
Yeah.
So that's going to work out really well for him. He already looks very comfortable. He's flourishing even more than Line A thus far. And then Line A is going to learn and do his thing, grow into the area, learn from Roslovich about the Ohio life, grow into it, and learn how to be a come blended into that community and help out and do his thing on and off the ice. So I think it'll take time, but he'll be good. It's not like the Blue Jackets are Stanley Cup contenders this year. Anyway, I'm not even sure if they'll make the postseason with how they're playing right now, but we'll have to see as time goes on.
Yeah, no, I totally, I see what you're saying, Ron, and that certainly can be viewed that way, especially when you consider what happened with Dubois and the things that were going on there, and when he went out to the media, and basically brought the quote quote dirty laundry out. But Tortorella has never been one to do that. So when I see somebody do something that totally goes against what he's ever done before, I have to wonder why. And what happened there was he said that we're going to do this internally. Dubois wouldn't come out with it in the room, what was going on. And he said, you know what, if you're not going to go out with it, then I'm going to force your hand with it or you're out. Then it's time to go. Tortorella was just like, I don't want you here if you're not willing to come out with your reasons and be honest. We've always been honest as a group here. And if you're not going to be honest as a group, then I'm going to do things to make sure you're out of here right away. And that's what he did, I think, looking back on it now.
Makes sense to me.
I mean, like I understand. I get it. I don't necessarily always agree with the way things happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And there could be a better way. You could be
right.
Absolutely correct. There could have been a better way than that to do it.
I'm not a fan of raking a player over the coals in public.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because in the end, and, look, there's been players that have deservedly been had some issues, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because not every player is, lily white. And I get that. And I'm not trying to assume that every player is lily white. You know what I mean? But I'm just not a fan of when coaches try to air laundry out there like that about players. Because it makes look, if you want to find out what's going on with that player, then you call Tortorella on the phone and you ask him and you let him tell you what's going on with that. Media people telling everybody what's going on with that player.
Yeah, I think the reason I see Pearlo's side, too, is because when you do that, I think there's a reason for it. You don't normally just air out your players like that, where I think it gets to a certain point of, okay, this is getting to the point of you're just at no return.
I mean, we don't know everything that happened, and I agree with what you're saying. We don't know everything that happened. Do you know what I'm saying? But I'm a team guy.
We do know he's
I'm all
effort, though.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a team guy, and I care more about the emblem on the front than the name on the back. Okay, and that goes with the coaching staff and everybody else.
That's why I think he did it, though. Dubois didn't. Dubois seemed like he cared a lot more about his own self-interest than he did about the team. So that's the only time I think Tortorella was going to violate his own rule, which is airing someone out to the media, because he basically just says, screw you. You're not helping us out. Why would I help you out at this point?
My guess at this time, my guess is that
I agree.
My guess is at this time that the team had turned against Dubois at this time.
Too. Yeah, when you put no effort.
Yeah, I think it's possible the team had kind of went like, okay, Dubes, get out of here.
Thank you. So thank you, Pearlo. You just proved my point for me.
Mm-hmm.
You have to let the players make it bad for themselves. And you as a coach, you can't be that guy. You can't be the facilitator. You have to let guys fail on their own. And you have to let guys be the ones that, everybody found out that Dubois gave up. And so he lost the locker room. He lost all those guys, right? So how is that going to look for him in the next team?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? He has to be the one that lives with his own actions too. Okay? I'm not trying to take anything away from what Dubois did by saying that he gave up. Look, if you were on my team and you gave up like that, you would not be on my team anymore.
Same thing. Yeah, like that's the thing. I don't think I would have an issue with Torch if I was someone that got traded to Columbus, because I would be like, well, you got what was coming. It's kind of one of those things. you clearly got what was coming to you type situation.
Yeah.
That's more the reason why I don't think I would have an issue for playing for Tortorella at all. I would say, well, I'm not going to be stupid like Doobie was and not try at all. If I ever want to be moved, I'm still going to try so I can get moved better, kind of like a la Goudreau this year. He still wants to get out of Calgary, but he looks like Johnny Hockey again. He doesn't look like he's just going through the motions. So, I mean, if you definitely still want to show yourself and your full self while getting moved, where Evgeny Malkin looks like he's taking a Sunday stroll every time on the ice this year. That looks like he just wants to get the hell out of Dodge. So there's the two different sides of it, and you still want to look like you're motivated and for it, not the way that Malkin and not the way that Dubois really definitely blatantly looked. At least Malkin's put some points and has a couple shifts. He looks worth a damn. Dubois there just looked like he was like, I'm done. I'm out of here. Bye.
Well, he definitely, he definitely gave up. So what do you guys think here, man? Columbus and Chicago. I'll tell you what. I really think that Columbus is going to need more time to put things together, and I think Chicago is the hot hand. I'm going with Chicago.
I second that. I go with Chicago. Whether it's Subban or Lankin, and Subban's been good the last couple games. It seems like they might have got him going. The goalie coach there, maybe they've worked well with him. Maybe Lankin and himself also worked well with him. And they've done some things there. You got DeLea as the third string. Eventually, you'll probably get another shot to see what the heck he can do if he can bounce in and do solid. Look a lot better in the minors. I'm going to say gooder. That's not a word. Looked a lot better in the minors. Being positioned to
more
being
gooder?
able to being able to look good and all that chutzpah. But I think he might translate into a second string if you're able to give him a little bit time as a late bloomer. But you definitely have two good ones if Subi's able to keep doing his thing. And Malcolm Subban, that's a good story. I hope he's able to keep doing his thing, keep the Subban name going.
Good on you, man. Good on you.
Yeah, so let's see what he's able to do. Pius Suter's another guy that's been great for Chicago. Kirashev and others have continued to do good. And then Patrick Kane's Patrick Kane. So, I mean, the guy just does what he has to do. Yeah. Keith doesn't seem to slow down much. So
that's what I was going to say too. Keith has been playing really well too, and that was kind of more of the surprise because we were kind of thinking that their back end's getting a little older now, but they've played really well. They've played pretty decent hockey, and I have been impressed with what Chicago's done.
Yeah, same here. They're one of the teams that I've been enjoying watching Lankin and watching Subban his last couple games. Watching great goaltending. They're a good team to watch of late in Subi's last two games, and then Lankinen's pretty much whole entire sheet other than one game.
Pretty much.
And that was the defense's fault, so pretty much his entire sheet.
I really like the energy that's coming off after that Lion A benching. I like Chicago. There's a lot of, I think it's going to be a close, very close game. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. But I think in the end, I think Columbus is going to pull this one out myself. Yeah, I think.
I knew that was coming.
Can we just go past this next game pretty quickly? I mean, does anyone want to talk about Nashville and Detroit that much?
That's probably going to be that's going to be a tough game to watch, I think.
The only thing you got to know about that game, I think, is that it's the battle of these are the two worst teams in the league right now. Can we agree? Can we agree on that? Yeah. Maybe Ottawa.
Yeah, the only guy that
Ottawa's up there too.
Yeah, the only guy that's been very, very good to watch from both those teams. Well, also Bobby Ryan looking good in Detroit's a great story after coming back from this thing. But also Forsberg's looking very good coming out. But other than that, nothing else has been great for those teams. Larkin looks solid, but isn't the points per game guy that some people thought he could become, but has looked pretty good otherwise. So, I mean, there's guys that you're developing, but other than that, there's not much with these two teams. This is by far the least game of the night, I would say.
What do you guys think, Nashville?
No, I would say Nashville. I
think Detroit. If they put Greiss in net, I think I'm so low on Nashville right now in the energy in that team that Detroit might be able to pull it out. I don't know if I'd put a whatever on, but I don't know. But if you're gonna ask me to lean somebody to win, I like Detroit's pushback more than Nashville's right now. Nashville is a team with no pushback whatsoever right now, and I just
agree.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah, actually. And Detroit actually hasn't played. I mean, they already kind of know that they're not that good, but they're at least trying. I mean, they're at least putting an effort out there. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, that's the thing, and with Detroit, that's the thing with that team. It almost looks like Nashville's given up, doesn't that seem to you? Like before they even get out there, it does.
Yeah, at times, yeah. But I think if Soros plays a good game, which I think he will against
Yeah.
Detroit, assuming he's in, you'll be able to take that game, and I think they'll take it by a very low scoring game, probably a 3-2 or 2-1 game. But yeah, they'll take it, I think, by 1 goal.
And then, and in the same breath, can we do the same thing with the next game on the
Oh,
docket?
Oh
That would be Ottawa,
the
Winnipeg.
Ottawa, Winnipeg. Yeah, I think. I mean, we have to go give that to Mark Scheifele led Winnipeg Jets, right? 15 points, 12 games. Scheifele, Nikolai Ehlers was one of the most underrated players in hockey, 14 and 12. I would say Jets all the way. Anybody disagree?
And this is Dubois' second game in.
Dubois' second game, right?
Yeah, who said he has to do better? Yeah, than his debut. He said that himself. The coaching staff said they liked some positives, but he called himself out, so that was good to see for his maturity as well.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I don't think this is.
Yeah, I'm going to
I
go
don't
with
think it's going
Winnipeg
to
on
be
that one
an
too.
easy game though. Ottawa's been playing better and better all the time, and Murray is in net. And Murray, all of a sudden, like we were talking about, they better be the goalie whisperers there because Murray was just absolutely horrible, and we talked about that a
Terrible, yeah.
lot. That we trusted Ottawa's goaltending coaches with some of the things they've done with the coaches in the past, and here Murray now starts looking like he's playing really well. So.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm going to go with the Jets for sure. Just on paper, the Jets just have a better team for sure, no doubt about it. And I believe they're playing Hullebuck. So even if Murray does play well, you got to figure when. But this is the big thing. We just talked about it. Now, isn't there a lot of pressure on? Didn't Dubois put a whole crap load of pressure on himself now?
But I think it's what he wants. He wants to have that motivation to be the best he can possibly be. He's behind Scheifele. He's in a nice spot there, being able to have Scheifele to be able to have to on top of you to be able to kind of sugarcoat you a little bit and not have to worry about as much thing. Um, I think it's a nice spot for him. I think he's going to succeed there, just as I think Line A is in a nice spot and
Yeah.
Roslovich
He
down there.
wanted
I
to be
think it's a
there
good
too.
way
Yeah.
for
So
good trade for both teams.
Yeah. As
agreed.
far as
Agreed.
who did you say the most underrated player? Yeah,
Ehlers,
Ehlers.
Nikolai
He's not
Ehlers.
going to be
Right.
underrated for
Yeah.
long. That now that he's had the opportunity to take that spot, he is freaking taking it and running with it. Yeah,
Slightly.
Full
he's going full
stride, yeah.
stride for sure. I've always liked him. I'm glad he's getting the opportunity.
Like a bull running at the people in the runs of the bulls or
Yeah, and
whatever you call it.
Oh, the
him and
running of the
Lion, they were
Bulls.
really good
Yeah,
friends too, by the way. But this certainly is putting him on, giving him opportunity to find a new status in the NHL, and he's certainly going with it. So, next game, next game is one that we don't want to pass over too quickly. Uh, the Oilers and the Canadians. What? This should be a very interesting game for sure. I'll go with whose turn is it? Joe's? Is it your turn, Joe?
You can go, Joe.
yeah. Who knows? I guess. But you have the guy in Jeff of 9 goals, tied for the team lead. Petrie's actually third in goals with 6, so he's doing great on the defensive end. His most productive defensive end, most productive offensive end. Their biggest issue is actually Carey Price, that we touched on earlier. Their
Yeah.
biggest issue is the guy you thought you would have to worry about the least. Actually, is the guy that you're worrying
You're
about.
worrying
A little
about?
bit. Yeah, it's
Whoops.
funny how that works. It's funny how life changes. That just works out in time. It's like, how the hell are we worrying about Carey Price?
Wait, what happened?
Look,
What? Wait, what?
But that's the guy you're worrying about a little bit. I think, or figure it out. I wouldn't be surprised if you try Allen in this game. I'm not sure if Price
Agreed.
got confirmed, and see if he can supplant
last
there.
night.
You got a guy like yeah, exactly. He played last night, so I'm not sure if he's going to get confirmed for back to back. It looked like a guy that was healthier behind Costner. You should have signed a guy that was more consistent. I think they're going to be able to get pucks on net. They're going to be able to play Smith's aggressiveness with that fast skating and highly skilled team. And guys now that can add in front of the net presence with Toffoli, who's great at deflecting the puck, is more of a kind of bulldog-esque guy. And then Anderson, who's huge, that does it tremendously. They just got all the tools to be able to beat this Edmonton team that's still not in full stride, especially because they didn't fix their goaltending and didn't fix their defense. All they did was add Tyson Barrie. for losing Oscar Lindholm. Excuse me, I almost called him Lindblom. But Cliffbaum, excuse me. There we go. I said
there you go.
Yeah. Oscar Cliffbaum. Too many Oscars in the NHL. I got to get rid of. But you have a guy that does good on both ends, and you don't in Tyson Barrie. Barrie does good on one end. I mean, they kind of did the Flyers. They got rid of a guy like Niski, and then they brought in a Gustafsson. Well, what the hell does that do? So, like, you need to either solidify your defense, or you need to really solidify the goaltending position. Otherwise, you ain't going nowhere.
Can't disagree with you on that, man. Gosh. I do agree. I think Allen a much better skating team. They're going to be a little bit tired, but I've been really impressed with what Montreal's been able to do this year. We thought and felt that Montreal was going to be one of the more surprising team because of all the turnaround that they had. Mm-hmm. It's from last season to this season, and to moly, that cat has been a huge addition for them. I mean, that's turning their season. And Petrie, look, 2 weeks ago, I had him as my top 3 stars of the week. Okay? Because of exactly that. He's putting points on the board. And he's a serious plus player. So he's been playing very well for Montreal. I also agree, too. Something doesn't seem right in Edmonton this year. Something seems a little bit it's not there. And it ain't going to be there tonight against Montreal. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, something's not right about Edmonton. I'll tell you what, I brought this up before. I liked some of the moves they made. I was really not sure about Kyle Turris, and I'm not going to. You've already heard me bitch enough about Kyle Turris as it is, so I'm not going to go too far more into it than that. But I would have rather them got guys like Hinostroza. Who Florida got 2 of them: Verhaeghe, Hinostroza. What's missing in Edmonton is guys that can bring some energy to that lineup.
That's what Torres used to be. I know Payton was one that thought he would be able to do it again in Edmonton. But it hasn't became the case, at least thus far. But other guys aren't performing as good. Yamamoto's been good, but hasn't been what he's done last year. Archibald, a guy I like, has looked solid in the bottom 6 again, but he's just a bottom 6. Like, you need to fill out your roster, as you were saying, a little bit more. But I mean, Torres is still learning a system. At this point of his career, he's a guy that's more of I'm trying to think of the right way to, but kind of a piece of the puzzle that you throw into that perfect puzzle position that fits exactly him. And they don't have the team to be able to throw Kyle Torres into a perfect puzzle position that fits exactly him, because you don't have the depth to be able to have that. So that's the other side of that.
I believe, if I'm correct, that Pulya Harvey's going to be out of this game too.
Okay.
So
who do you like here, Pearlo?
Oh, Montreal all day.
Okay.
Montreal all day. I take. It's not even close. I'll be very surprised if Edmonton wins this game. Very surprised. For sure.
Stranger things have happened.
With Smith and net. Yeah. No. Allen's playing fantastic ever since. He's been playing better than Price, actually. So it doesn't look good to me. Do you guys have anything? Right. Do anybody disagree with that at all?
Nope. Montreal all day.
Yeah, I kind of like jacket. I think everybody, even in the
Tampa Bay, Florida game is going to be good in the beginning, and I think maybe the Columbus Blue Jackets and Chicago game might be good. But I'm looking forward to this one here, Carolina and Dallas.
I'm looking forward to this too, because I'm going to see what Dallas is going to become, because I have no idea what they're going to be yet. I know what they look like they can be, but just all the pieces aren't rolling in the same direction here right now for Dallas, from what I can see. And Carolina has the huge problem that we talked about that was going to be the problem, in the fact that if one of the goaltenders got hurt, they're in trouble. And they're in trouble. Right, Joe?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if you get a goaltender's injured, that's not going to help down there. I mean, you got to figure it out. Mrazek's a good goaltender when he's hot, and Reimer's not a starting goaltender, as we talked about before. When he's getting pushed fully, that's usually when he's not as hot, when he's positioning in. Is not as hot as he should be at this point. He's more of a minor leaguer goaltender at this point than a third stringer or a backup, but he might get there, but he's not there yet. But yeah, you got to see more. I do think, though, you're still going to see a good game by Carolina and most likely a win for the Hurricanes. I would say they've just been pushing a little bit better than the Stars. The Stars have had such good highs and such terrible lows. The Hurricanes have been a little bit more balanced. So I think this game's going to go to the Hurricanes.
I was going to say
Wow.
there's a story here too. Hudobin's playing tonight after being uh, benched or not. He got a spanking. Yeah, nobody knows what happened, but whatever he did, Rick Bowness was extremely not happy about it, and that's not an easy thing to
Right.
do with Rick Bowness. So he's playing here again tonight. Is it possible? And is it possible that Hudobin started getting ahead about himself, and maybe was affecting the room or something here in this last little while? I'm almost leaning Dallas here. I just have a feeling that whatever Bonus did with Hudobin here is going to straighten it out a little bit for Dallas.
Okay. Can't
Yeah,
argue with that
could be a
logic.
shake up of the head, a wake up of the head. Yeah, that's
Yep.
totally a
Yep. I
possibility.
would go with Dallas as well on this too. I'm not trying to take anything away from Carolina, but they just don't seem to be. They just seem to be a little bit a step behind. I think I do agree with. I thought was going to be finishing as high, but would be maybe in the fight. So to me, this was a toss-up game. It's one of those flip a coin games, but I'm going to go with Dallas.
I do believe, and I was just going to check while you were talking, but you went a little quicker than I.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all right. I do believe Trocheck is out for Carolina as well, and another center, Nietzsche's. Nietzsche and
Oh, okay.
Trocheck is out for Carolina. This is probably more the reason why
Not
I'm
going to be.
swinging Dallas.
Yep.
I,
Well,
I
yeah.
want to watch this game to see what Hudobin does. But yeah, they're
There you
they're
go.
both out. They're both out. So
Okay.
and Dallas has got a few guys out too, Sagan and
Right. Right.
so
Yeah,
But they've been
that's
playing
fine.
without those guys for a much longer period of
Yeah,
time.
yeah, that's
but
true.
not great. Like I said, their highs
Well,
have been
okay.
their
Yeah,
lows have been so
they
bad.
haven't been playing
But
well together. Yeah.
yeah,
True. But they have been playing them. So, all right.
Are we gonna keep on going here?
Do you want
I
to?
think we got one more. Didn't we skip over
We got Calgary, Vancouver, and then we got Anaheim and the
Vegas and then
Golden
you got
Knights.
Sharks and
Vegas
Kings? But
Vegas is gonna
Sharks.
ruin Anaheim. We won't even bother talking about that. It's not even gonna be
yeah,
pretty.
Vegas should destroy Anaheim. They've somehow
Gibson
scored
is
a little bit.
injured, so
Gibson's injured. That's not going to help. Somehow they still are 5 wins, stole 5 wins
Okay.
this year.
Okay.
Anaheim, yeah, but
I,
that's
I would have I would have taken Vegas over them all day long too.
Vegas.
I'm also going to go with Calgary over Vancouver
oh
as well.
good, because I'm gonna take Vancouver over Calgary, so that'll be fun.
I just don't. I that whole beginning part has really hurt Vancouver, and
Yep.
until they get a couple days off, or get a couple days rest, or a couple days where they don't have to be playing some back to back games and stuff, which that doesn't look like that's going to happen. So they're in a hole that I don't think they're going to be able to climb out of, and I just think Calgary's going to be a little too much for them.
Yep, that makes sense to me. But I just feel what you said about Calgary's at 6-5. They have the same win. Vancouver has games at hand playing that hefty schedule. What you kind of said about them, I think Hughes looking terrible in the defensive end, but doing very good offensively with 17 points. It'll grow. His partners and everything doesn't help him. Their defense as a whole is in shambles. Hope he looks terrible. But I think if you're able to
Gosh.
actually have their team put it fully together, which I saw a little bit more construction of late. That's why I think this game's going to be a high scoring game that both defenses look
Yeah.
like doo doo. and it might be a 6-5 game or something along that.
There you go. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I don't think this is going to be a good game defensively, a good goaltending game because of their set defenses. I think this will be a pretty high-scoring game. But I do think the Besters of the world, Quinn Hughes of the world, those guys are going to be the guys inking it out over the Goudreaus of the world and the Lindholms of the world and Mangiapanis. So I think Pettersson, Hughes, and everybody will be the ones to ink this one out by a one-goal big game scoring total.
So you guys are both going Vancouver, and I'm the only one going Calgary on this one.
Yeah, I was trying to check out when I think Vancouver did have a couple off here, and I
know they had like 3 days off, right?
Yeah,
they played like their ninth game, and then they had 3 days, and then they played 10, 11, and then they had you know what I mean? But they it just seems like they need that couple of days there where they need to kind of pull it together where they can play some teams.
Last time they played was Monday. Their 3-1 loss to the Leafs.
Yeah. So
yeah,
we'll see how it goes tonight. I'm still going with Calgary on this one.
Yeah. Then the last game we have is the Kings game, which is a quick one to go over. Kings Sharks. Having guys out on the Kings defense just bites them in the butt, and that's what's probably going to allow the Sharks to prevail in this game again. They've looked better being at 500 since the Walkers and the Matt Ruys went out. As we speak, I'm double checking, but I'm 95% sure that both are still supposed to be out for tonight's game.
Okay.
So if that's the case, then I would definitely have to lean towards the Sharks with this one because the Kings have not looked the same since both of those guys. Yeah, it does say they're supposed to be out. Clegg has looked all right, but in the 18 minutes, but he's overplaying. Cal Clegg shouldn't be playing almost 20 minutes a game at this point. He's looked good, but he's not a guy he's more of you want to mature him in and nurture him in at 15 to 16, not be like, oh, you're playing over 20 minutes already.
Right.
Oli Mata is a guy they're trying to figure out in LA that's taken some time. They haven't got it yet. Austin Strand, Pearlo hinted at it before in a past video. Not really a starter, more of a seventh defenseman. A solid competitive guy went in, but shouldn't be overtaxed as he is. McDermott has looked good this year, but it should not be up as high as he's playing. Mikey Anderson has looked really good, but shouldn't be up as high as he's playing either. He's getting over 21 minutes. With Doughty, when you have Roy come out and Walker, who have looked really good, that just really impacts the team in a hefty negative way, and I think that's why I would lean the Sharks in this one for sure.
Can't even disagree with any of that stuff too. The Sharks neither one of these teams have played very well as of late, and injuries are starting to catch up with them too, and I believe they've had some times where they've missed out as well too. Some players has missed time, and they've had some COVID issues run through both of these teams too. Yeah, lately in the last week or so. Did they have some games postponed or changed around? There was a whole bunch of games that went around. I wasn't sure. I can't remember if these guys had any of those games, if they were part of any of those games.
I don't think they did. The Sharks were more earlier. I think they were involved in some of the game.
Okay. Very tough for LA this year, especially with their injuries and everything like that, and their goalie's not playing up to snuff. So I like San Jose on this one as well, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got San Jose